How do you get the most out of your premarital sessions? Hi, my name is Mary. Welcome to Love Notes, where we talk about chasing after God's heart in the area of love, of romance, whether we're single, we're dating, we're married, we're parenting, we're doing family. What does it look like to chase after God's heart and mind for all these things? If you have anticipated marriage, or you're preparing to get married, or you are married, there's a very high likelihood that you've come across premarital counseling, premarital sessions. Different names are used for the same thing. Essentially, it's a journey of preparation to get you ready for marriage once you've committed to a certain wedding date. And one of the things that I do is I am a premarital facilitator. My husband and I do that. We've journeyed with many couples who are dating, who have gone on into getting married. We've journeyed with many married couples. And so over the years, I've seen what premarital preparedness looks like for different couples from different backgrounds, from different denominations and churches and all of that. And one of the standard things that I've come to find is that people tend to leave things off till the last minute. What do I mean by that? Premarital is inherently supposed to be an invitation to help you navigate and find the blueprint that God has for your relationship. It's supposed to be a point where you are able to figure out, how do we move from being a dating couple and become a married couple? And not just any kind of married couple, but specifically the kind of married couple that God desires us to be. How do we build a kind of family that God has in mind for us? How do we find that blueprint? How do we execute it? Now, these are conversations that ideally should be happening from day one. So even before you even find that someone, you should already be asking God these questions. It's not something that you start when you find someone. Trust you me, the earlier you can get to this, the better, because there's a lot of heavy lift that happens spiritually, mentally, emotionally when it comes to this. But what I've often found is that we tend to date as though God is somewhere in the vicinity. He's kind of in the same room with us, somewhere, maybe in the same house with us, but he's not really seated right there with us. And then when it comes to premarital, we're expecting this miracle to happen, if at all, where we want to now invoke the blessing of the Lord, usually because we have a wedding that's coming up and we need some money. Or we have a wedding that's coming up and there may be one or two challenges that we really want God to take care of on our behalf. But we don't really settle down to really ask ourselves, what is God's heart and mind for us as a couple? What is God's heart and mind for us as a family? Premarital in its very essence is limited, and it has to be, because we are working with a deadline. You're getting married soon. Traditionally speaking, premarital is not something you do at any time, at whatever point you want to do it. It usually requires a certain commitment on your part, where you say, yes, we've set a date, and when there's a date set, then we work backwards and see how can we plan for these sessions so that you can be ready in good time ahead of the wedding day. That in itself already constrains how much we're able to cover, because we are working with a significant deadline. We're also working with people whose minds and hearts are full of a lot. Planning a wedding isn't easy. It comes with so much. It comes with so much. If you've been through it, you know this. It comes with very many decisions that need to be made. It comes with all sorts of relationships that need to be handled in a certain way. It comes with conversations that may not quite go the way we are expecting them to. And so when you're coming into premarital, there's already a lot that's going on inside of you, and that also limits how much we can do during that time. And that's why I say people leave things until too late, because the best time to even be dealing with some of these things is before you start premarital. When you're thinking about dating, when you're still single, when you start dating, as you're dating, by the time you get to premarital, we should be crowning off something that you've been doing. We should be putting gasoline into a fire that you've already built. But oftentimes I've found that what we are doing is trying to get people to even understand that there needs to be a fire. Not only does the fire not exist, sometimes people don't even know there's a fire that needs to exist. And so, how do you prepare for premarital? You prepare for it ahead of time. You start to ask these questions ahead of time. You start to ask God for a blueprint as soon as now. Even if you're single now, start asking God, what is my blueprint for marriage? What do you have in mind for marriage? What kind of spouse, what kind of family do you have in mind for me? What kind of person do I need to be in this season of life? How do I become that person? What needs to change? What needs to remain the same? Start tackling the hard things now, so that by the time you're getting to the premarital stage, you're not trying to go uphill. Essentially, what you're doing is going downhill. I won't necessarily say that it's easy, because it's not. However, it becomes a lighter load than what you would have if you're starting from scratch. Now, if you're already in that stage and it is what it is, time has passed you by and you may not have done as much as you needed to, don't worry. God is a redeemer of time. And all you need to do is make that invitation and make a commitment as an individual and as a couple to do the heavy lifting now, and to be aware that yes, it's going to be heavy lifting because you're working within certain constraints. There are certain things that you will have to handle in marriage that ideally you should have handled when you are dating. But God is still gracious to give you the wisdom and the grace that you need to do so. So if you're preparing for marriage, if you're thinking about marriage, if you are anticipating walking down the aisle, and you know that premarital counseling will be part of that journey for you, one of the best things you can do for yourself is ask the Lord ahead of time, how do we make room for you in our relationship from day one, so that by the time you're getting to premarital, that's not when you're shocked to realize just how much of a role God has to play. All along, He's been there. He's been there guiding you. He's been there giving you wisdom. He's been there showing you His heart and mind. And so all you're doing in premarital is expanding the conversation and inviting counsel and wisdom from people who've gone ahead of you. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you in the next episode.